All right, we are rolling. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to the CI Chit Chat. Um, Excited to have a guest with me here today. I guess it's kind of been a long time in the making. I don't know. We probably should have had you on a long time ago, Ashley. But anyway, excited to get you on here now and sharing a variety of different things we've got going on here at Continuum. But like we always do, let's kind of set the stage a little bit. CI, of course, carbon intensity, and we're talking about it primarily because of the 45Z tax credit, but we are exploring a lot of different alternative opportunities and different. I think carbon intensity is setting a precedent that's going to work beyond tax credits. It's going to work beyond biofuels. It's really just the way that the world is going, I think, from a carbon accounting and sustainability and decarbonization standpoint. So just very bullish on the entire big picture concept. We've been helping farmers measure their carbon intensity. It's modeled utilizing the GREET model. There's a couple other tools, but primarily the GREET model is the standard and what we've been using and have scored hundreds of millions of bushels and verified through an ISO audit process tens of millions of bushels. So it really can be done. Farmers can really tell this story, and Continuum Ag, we're just trying to help to do that at scale. Um, the quick update on 45Z from a policy standpoint is there's not a whole lot to report. Haven't seen any real movement since the public comment period ended on April 10th. I wasn't necessarily expecting anything. I hope that we'll get some movement on it later this summer. And I know that as they're going through a lot of discussions in DC right now about tax policy and some of these new the big tax bill and stuff, a lot of these Inflation Reduction Act items are kind of in the on the chopping block to an extent. But I know that 45Z's got very good bipartisan support. A lot of folks that are really behind it, and I think understand the impact that it would make. It's still a bit of a toss-up in regards to is it going to make it or not. But I think I might have shared a week or two ago that I met with, or I had a call with a CEO from a different large carbon company that's very involved in 45Z. And I asked, and they're like, they've got really, really great connections. And I asked them, what are the odds that 45Z goes away and, or, yeah, it gets cut? And he said 0% chance that that would happen. Now, I think that's a bold statement. I'm not, I, I'm very optimistic. I try to be fairly optimistic, but I think there's a chance, of course, that it could get cut, but a lot of people fighting to try to keep 45Z, and I think it can really set a precedent that's going to change global agriculture. But we will see. In the short term, trying to help farmers manage their data, trying to help farmers get in position for 45Z or whatever the right things are going to be. And one of our folks that's really helping to lead that is Ashley. And so that's why I wanted to have Ashley on as a guest here today. Try to keep mixing things up that there's not a lot to report in DC, and I don't want to just say a bunch of the same stuff over and over and over every week. So, without further ado, Ashley, why don't I turn it over to you? Introduce yourself and give a little bit of your background first, and then we'll dig into some more info from there.
Sure. I'm Ashley Robertson, and I'm originally basically from just down the street from Mitchell, but it took me a trip around the world in about 22 years to get back here. So just recently back to Southeast Iowa. My background and something a little bit different, I guess, compared to other folks at Continuum is I'm an ecologist. So what that means is I went to school for a long time and studied the connections between things in the environment, and not just like plants and animals and things like that, like thinking about the human aspect and how everything's connected. And from that, I worked in restoration ecology for quite a long time and worked a lot with engineering companies to go around and restore different things after they had gone wrong, mining, different industrial operations, things like that. Um, Decided I wanted to do something a little bit different. And on pretty short notice, I quit my job and moved to New Zealand and went down there and decided to see how they did things down there. So I started my own company in New Zealand, and the basis of what I was doing there was connecting landowners with opportunities to improve erosion control on their property. So if they had waterways or any sort of poor soil that was eroding due to stock or other things, I would help connect them with the resources to get fencing and plants and all sorts of things to improve that environment. Also did a lot of restoration on the beaches down there. So there was about 200 miles of coastline that I was solely responsible for managing the erosion on. I don't know if anyone knows anything about sand on a beach, but trying to be the person in charge of erosion control on a sandy beach is not very fun. You get a lot of phone calls. Um, and eventually made my way back here and uh, just have always had an eye towards anything that is looking at a bigger picture improvement of the environment and trying to make that a good situation for everyone. Um, and that's how I got aligned with Mitchell and
Yeah.
Continuum Ag.
And well, and we'll dig in a lot more on what Ash has been really digging into and working on here, but where we've connected a lot is, that carbon intensity is the metric that is kind of the goalposts of today, but the goalpost keeps changing. And as I've said a lot, I think carbon intensity measurement, 45Z or similar programs, they're setting a precedent around how to measure one of these environmental outcomes right now, carbon intensity, a precedent about how to audit it, precedent about how to track the environmental asset, setting a precedent about the economic levers behind that environmental asset. And it's carbon intensity today, but it's going to be other things in the future. I'm just completely sold that I'm convinced that it's going to be not just carbon intensity, but metrics around biodiversity or water quality or other water impact metrics or other sustainability metrics. I think carbon intensity is one metric that gives us a new scoreboard, right? As I've talked about it a lot in the past. Carbon intensity in the GREET model, it's a new scoreboard with a transparent point system, and 45Z or similar programs could help implement a financial system that rewards scoring points. And that's what I like about it. The further you go, the more you want to take your operation, the bigger the financial reward for doing so because you're making a bigger impact, right, on the scoreboard. But the scoreboard is going to be more than just carbon intensity. Today, it's really just yield, right? Today, it's the yield monitor, and yield is the scoring mechanism, and that's how we get paid in agriculture as farmers. But now it could be stacked on top of that, your carbon intensity score. But I think it's going to be some of these other things, and that's where it's been interesting to look at some of these methodologies around verifying claims. And we've really learned how to verify one type of claim, but I think it's going to merge into other stuff as well. And Ashley, you've really kind of taken that bull by the horns here and helping us to understand what does it take to undergo some of these audit protocols. And you probably know more about some of this audit process and whether it be ISO or Vera or other stuff. Like we're trying to explore where are the opportunities for farmers, and we definitely don't have it all figured out yet. Trying to figure out what are the opportunities going to be. And yeah, Ashley, you've been looking at a bunch of these different protocols and different stuff, and maybe give a kind of a hot take on some of that or your thoughts there as you've dug into some of these, putting some rigor, I guess, behind some of these claims.
Sure. Originally we knew everybody was going to need to log their activities in topsoil, making sure that everybody, we do know now that you have to be the ones, the farmers themselves have to be the ones to enter that, in terms of making sure that that is as accurate as possible. We learned a lot in tranche one about what different types of evidence look like. So we've got everything ranging from handwritten notes on the back of an envelope to really stringent, awesome records that are just awesome. So from that, we've been able to make some guidelines, and hopefully moving forward, we can give really concise, targeted requests for what we're looking for to support your claims on your own operation. So being able to get a little bit more personalized with that, and standardized across everything. And then that adds to the rigor. And in my opinion, the better data that you're giving us and the more rigor that that has, the better return we can possibly get for you, because the higher quality programs are more likely to ask for more stringent data.
Hmm.
So I've been telling everybody to treat it like you're doing your taxes. Give us the best possible evidence for everything that you're claiming.
Yeah. And that was the big learning curve for sure, right? We at Continuum Ag, we've always helped farmers enroll in other people's carbon program or other people's sustainability initiatives. We had never been the actual MRV provider ourselves. We'd always helped other people and kind of been been a consulting company to help other people provide it. Now, this was the first time that we underwent the audit ourselves, and that's the tranche one that Ash is talking about. We put together 29 million bushels that underwent the audit altogether. So, like just shy of 150,000 acres that was basically conglomerated together, all undergoing the same internal audit protocols that Ashley and Carolyn led from our internal audit team to basically fine tooth comb everything on our side before we sent it to the third party auditor, which was Eco Engineers. And then they, of course, went and did a risk assessment and additional audits on top of that. But like Ashley was saying, at the beginning, we didn't really know what evidence the farmer needed to collect. And now that we've gone from zero all the way to 100 and been able to pass the audit, now we really understand what it's going to take. And to Ashley's point, it's okay, sure, the handwritten notes and documentation that way, that's like that's obviously not ideal. We'll still take it, but what's better is the actual machine data, actual receipts from your seed, your
Anything
fertilizer, any of that stuff, pictures, whatever you've got, any of that is important to have. And yeah, it's a lot of record keeping. But to Ashley's point, if you want to if these programs are going to continue to provide more financial reward, it's going to take more rigorous data. That's just going to be the trade, right? If you want to be compensated more, you're going to have to, we got to be able to pass this really intense level of audit.
One of the general learnings with that too, is in terms of data rigor. Anything that comes from a third party or is passed through a third party is going to be your best bet if you're trying to submit anything for data. So, crop insurance claims, your co-op receipts, any of that, machine data is awesome.
Mhm. Some of
But
the stuff you
anything,
reported to the FSA office, right? So like if you're in a cover crop program, if you're in a no to a reduced tillage program, something like that, right? I think that was there's some of those documents that can really help as well.
yeah.
So the long story short on all of this, of course, is data management, right? And that's really what we've continued to be preaching to our farmers up to this point. And the entire point of having this conversation now, while a lot of farmers are in planting or wrapping up planting, we just finished up last week. A lot of spraying going on, a lot of fertilizer applications going on. Side dress is about to get started down here in our neck of the woods. The whole point is keep track of every nitty gritty thing because we don't know exactly how 2025 carbon programs or 45Z, we don't know how it's going to shape up yet. But like Ashley is the expert on, we know that any of these programs, they all take the same type of data. Tillage records, cover crop, yield, planting, fertilizer, even keep track of pesticide applications, fuel usage, all that stuff. We don't know where they're going to draw the line on what practices are exactly going to be entailed, right? And even from a 45Z standpoint, we've seen a couple different versions of this. You have the full GREET model that has a lot of different parameters, including energy, including pesticide usage, including lime and NPK. Then you've got the USDA calculator that really dialed that back. It only had seven parameters, but it didn't give as big of a change in CI scored, not as big of an upside reward, right? So that's the trade-off is more data can move the needle more, can provide a bigger financial opportunity. Less data, less moving parts, sure, maybe a little bit easier to manage, but we're missing out on the big picture, big story, and we don't know what way it's going to go yet, or we don't know what programs are going to be the right thing. So right now, the message is document everything, and and that's why because there's so much uncertainty, that's why we rolled out our this new program called TopSoil Connect, where we're basically helping to manage all the data except just not putting it through the third party audit until we know that that's the right route. We underwent the audit once with eco engineers, and we've been talking with other auditors and whatnot as well. But eco's been great to work with, and they're actually some of their folks are going to come speak at the Topsoil Summit on June 3rd down here as well. So to learn more from them, and I've had them on the webinar and stuff before as well. But CI certification is like one program that may be the right route for 2025, but we don't really know yet. And Ashley, you've been thinking a lot about this, right, on how farmers should be kind of managing that data. And then when the time is right, then you can choose, okay, what are you going to do with the data when a program becomes apparent that, all right, let's jump in.
Yeah, so what I've been recommending with everybody is so the crop year, of course, starts after last harvest. So at this point, you're going to want to go in and log everything that you've done up until this point. When you get that mythical lull of free time this time of year, I know it's hard to come by, but maybe if some of that rain eventuates,
There you
take
go.
your rainy day, log your stuff in topsoil,
Mm,
can send through documentation if you'd like. Um, you could reach out to me if you have any questions about what documentation you might need for a certain practice, if you're having a hard time coming up with something. Always glad to help with that.
yeah. Yeah, it's managing. I think it's going to be easier, right, for farmers to manage their data in small bite-sized chunks. And what I'm most worried about in all of this is um, the longer there is uncertainty in DC, the longer we go without rules, and the shorter the time becomes between the rules actually dropping and taxes got to be submitted in 2026. So whether that be, submitting taxes in April or getting them pushed back, which of course a lot of people will. They'll file for extensions because if 45Z comes through, it's going to be a lot of data in a very short amount of time. And I think it's going to be an early bird gets the worm situation where farmers that are in position, able to capitalize on this, uh, hopefully they will be in a better position to be rewarded. But what you can start with now is at least managing the data. And yeah, Continuum, of course, we've got a system set up to be able to do it, TopSoil Connect. But even if you've got your own stuff, the more farmers are that are keeping their data clean and organized and in position to be able to capitalize, like that's great. Obviously, we would love to help with it, but even if you've got systems that are working for you, great. More power to you, like that. It's about if any of this stuff's going to work, it's going to take volume. So whether it be through a software like ours or some of our buddies and stuff in this space, hey, manage your data, keep good records. That's how this is going to be successful. But it all starts with, yeah, manage your data now and try to bite size it. And Ashley, you've been really helping a lot in improving our software and stuff as well. We're very much still building the plane as we're flying it, but we've made some tremendous adjustments based on learning from the first batch of audit that we went through. I feel like we're in a much better position now that things have, of course, for a lot of those early adopting farmers, there was definitely some growing pains and some things that we had to learn. But I think we're getting a lot of that figured out now. So maybe, I don't know if anything stands out there that you want to speak to, but you've been really involved in helping to make sure that like we're trying to get the software to work as seamlessly as possible.
Yeah, so I've been working with the software team and we're trying to increase the user friendliness of certain aspects of it. So we've got a lot of cool things coming down the pipeline there. And on the back end, just some things to help us be able to look at your data really quickly and get back to you and cut down our review time and all of that, which will help us facilitate more people at a time. Um,
I think that'll be huge, right? So it's kind of querying the data and being able to more rapidly pick out anomalies. Sometimes the anomalies are legit, right? Farmer just treated one farm different or whatever. Sometimes maybe they forgot to add a piece of data or misentered something or whatever, and we need to be able to catch all those things to help farmers. Farmers are reviewing all the data, of course, and they're in on our process. Farmer, you own your data, you entered your data, and you're attesting that it's legit. That's the only way that we can really go about it. But to Ashley's point, we've really been able to improve some of the review process, so that farmers have better tools to review their data. And also here in the Continuum office, we're able to review things better as well and be able to ensure that any anomalies are caught and that things are as 100% dialed as possible. And just avoiding any even minor discrepancies in the reality of what happened versus what's being documented in the software. So yeah, I think that was a really important piece to kind of understand and go through, right? Of we want to be as rigorous as possible as and have all the data be as absolutely legitimate as possible. And like we said, we passed the audit. There's different levels of passing audit. We were able to pass. We want to continue to make sure that we are sending everything through to the auditors that is as just bulletproof as absolutely possible. Because I think some of the long-term risk in this is if farmer data isn't 100% bulletproof, if it's not just to the A plus level, there's a lot of environmental groups that don't necessarily like what we're doing in agriculture. There's outside groups that don't like biofuels or aren't going to like this program. And any window that we have to open ourselves up to potential issues from the outside, that could be bad for the whole program. It could wreck the whole thing. So I think really being bulletproof with that data is what's going to ensure that programs can be long term. But I think also that it's going to enable the precedent to be adopted by other markets as well. And actually, that's also what we've been working on, right? Is how could the concepts here be taken outside of 45Z? Because I still don't know if it's going to come through or not.
Yeah.
I'm gunning for it. I pushing with all we've got to make sure that it does happen, but I don't know yet. So, but I love the concept. I love the concept of farmers documenting their practices and having mechanisms to be able to systematically improve and then be compensated for their actual impact, rather than only for changing a practice and getting a privatized cost share, but having a new actual reward mechanism, I think is really unique and something that is the way the world is going, and I think it should happen, regardless of 45Z. And actually, I know you've been really digging into that same kind of concept as well.
Yeah. So maybe it's a good time to talk a little bit about Topsoil Connect. Um, so
Absolutely.
using this same data that everybody has been putting in and doing really well and passing that audit, something that I think was really cool about that is passing that audit means that we had less than 5% error in the whole project, which is amazing when you consider the number of people involved and there's a lot of degrees of uncertainty. The more people you put in, the more problems that tend to pop up. But we did really well in passing that audit. Um, but now we're able to query that data and be able to connect our farmers with different programs at any point in the process. So, as an example, if a program comes up and we see that we have 100,000 acres of corn in I states, it needs to be no-till and it needs to have these specific things.
Mhm.
We can pull that out and get in contact with those folks who have enrolled in Connect, and let them know that we do have a program available. So I'm really excited to be able to offer that. And we've had some really awesome discussions with third parties to try to get those programs lined up. And we've seen all sorts of things, some really unique ideas going on out there, but all centered around that same mission of improving soil health and connecting farmers with that additional value. Some of it even being stackable, which would be really cool. They're not all stackable. We wish they were. Um,
Yeah.
but when you can stack certain programs, then you're getting multiple chains of value for that same field and same practice.
Yeah. So what Ash is talking about, right, is we're really trying to broaden the nets, right? Cast the nets wider. Up to this point, we've really been kind of a one-trick pony, right? Looking at 45Z and then minorly participating in different alternative carbon programs, insets, and that type of thing. But we're looking at, all right, could we align with folks that can offer cost share, helping with government programs and cost share programs? And are there other inset opportunities or other ways to sell CI certificates or other finance, even like finance opportunities or products or like just any different tools that can help farmers meet our mission, right? Improving family farm profitability via improving soil health, right? 45Z has been the niche and been our angle for the last couple of years because when I saw it, it was just the light bulb moment for me that this is finally really something that could impact my own family farm. So that's what we've been pushing for it is I'm trying to figure it out for myself and for my family farm, right? But it's not the only thing. There's other programs out there, and that's what Ashley's talking about is, we've really been able to improve our internal systems and utilizing better process that Ashley and team has brought to the table to help farmers get their data organized. We've got better tools to be able to parse out that data, query that data, help that when programs do come about, we can really more rapidly uh, get farmers plugged into that, which we've needed, right? A lot of programs have been small scale, but we've got 2 million acres put together in the system, a ton of interest wanting to do something. So we've really needed to go to this next level to be able to parse through that data versus if a program comes, us having to kind of handpick farmers that we already know would be eligible or pushing things out broad when it works to push things out broad. Well, now we've got more of a hybrid tailored approach that we can better connect specific phenotypes of farms with specific projects or programs that's really going to be able to help to be better for all the parties that are involved. So, yeah, Ash, I think that's been a huge step for us, right? To be able to really utilize all this data that we've got, be able to draw inferences from it. We're also exploring things like could there be data co-op opportunities or other ways for farmers to be able to get compensated or license out their data? We just had a small handful of our farmers that were able to get partially compensated for some of their Haney data, even like some of their soil sampling that they're doing right now. We had an opportunity come about where they were able to get partially compensated for just sharing their Haney data. They already paid for it. They were going to utilize it themselves anyway, but there's a startup company that was interested in getting access to it. They were willing to pay a little bit of money back for that data and pretty slick deal for the farmer that now they don't have to pay for all this technology and pay for all this stuff out of their own pocket. Sure, they had the upfront cost, right? We got to keep our lights on somehow and we got to pay our bills here at Continuum somehow. So we charge them for it, but then they got compensated back for that data and for their effort. And I think there's going to be a lot of unique opportunities to do that at a larger scale going forward here and just trying to find opportunities for farmers, right? That's what it boils down to is farmer data is extremely valuable. To wrap this up, the whole point is keep really good records. The better your data, the more organized it is, the easier it's going to be for everybody, including you, the farmer, especially easier for Ashley and her team as well to be able to parse through it, be able to get you through the process as smoothly and seamlessly as we can here. And yeah, good opportunity to start early with that. Start now to manage your data, get it organized. I don't know what the programs are going to be for this year. I'm trying to figure that out. We got a lot of different things that we're looking at, a lot of conversations going on. I don't know. I don't know what 25 is going to look like yet, but I'm trying to have options for farmers and things are going to continue to work out. It just seems like the whole world is still moving in this direction. Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns, but still, by and large, the world is moving in this direction, and farmer data is the key to unlocking a lot of value. So, manage it appropriately. But yeah, Russ, thanks. June 3rd, Topsoil Summit. We do still have the early bird discount going, I believe, until Friday. So if you want to get a ticket to the Topsoil Summit, they're just $25 when you use the discount code. We've got a tremendous lineup of speakers and stuff coming in, including the president of the Renewable Fuels Association, my old buddy Millennial Farmer, talking about connecting, right? That's the whole point. Connect to elevate. So connecting farms with some of these different programs or with the consumer, all that. So Zach's coming, our third-party auditors are coming. We have tax credit brokers coming. A lot of folks from the biofuel space will be there. Um, what else? A bunch of our farmers that have been able to have some great success in this. They're going to be talking. We've got a a presenting sponsor, Corteva, that's going to be coming and presenting some stuff as well, which is going to be really cool to see some of their new innovations. Variety of others as well. It's really going to be awesome. It's really come together well. So be sure to get registered. But Ashley, final word over to you. Any parting thoughts?
Looking forward to figuring out what 2025 has to hold in terms of opportunities. Got a lot of irons in the fire and can't wait till one of them produces
That's
something.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
We're pushing. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining here today. Be safe out there in the fields. I know a lot of crop is going to continue to get planted here during the sunshine this week. So be safe out there, and we'll catch you on the next CI Chit Chat. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.